13 years of marriage. That's what I was celebrating that day. I had a gift in my hand and her favorite restaurant booked for dinner. Then I saw her kiss another man in the middle of a mall. So here's the question that's haunted me since. Did that kiss break my marriage, or did it just show me it was already broken? Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, hit subscribe because there's more coming and you won't want to miss them. Okay, let's go back to that day. The day I thought was going to be the best one of the year. My name's Ronan. I'm 38, and up until that Tuesday, I thought I understood my own life pretty well. 13 years married to a woman named Elena, the kind of marriage people call solid. Not perfect, just steady. We'd built a house together, 2 dogs, a habit of finishing each other's sentences at dinner parties. I gave up a job offer once so she could stay close to her mother. She gave up painting for a desk job so we could afford that house. Small trades, the kind every marriage runs on, I figured. You don't think of them as sacrifices. You just call it love and move on. That morning, I left work 2 hours early. Didn't explain why, just smiled at my manager and walked out like a man with a secret. Because I had one. 13 years felt like something worth marking properly. So I drove to the mall with one goal: find her something that actually meant something, not just another box to unwrap and forget by spring. I spent 40 minutes in a jewelry store. 40 minutes for one necklace, because I wanted it to remind her of our first trip together, back when we had nothing but a tent and bad instant coffee. When the woman behind the counter wrapped it, I remember feeling lighter than I had in months. Like the year had been heavy, but this was going to be the good part. I walked out into the mall with that bag swinging against my leg, already rehearsing what I'd say over dinner. I didn't know yet that fate doesn't care what you've rehearsed. I didn't know I was 12 minutes away from the worst kind of luck a man can have, being exactly on time. I saw her before I saw me, Elena, standing near the cafe, hair pulled back the way she does when she's not expecting anyone to be looking at her closely. My first thought was almost embarrassing. She came early. She wanted to surprise me too. I actually smiled, started walking faster, gift bag bouncing against my knee like some kid heading toward a Christmas tree. Then I saw the man next to her. Something about the way he stood, too close, too comfortable, made my stomach drop before my brain even caught up. And then I recognized him. Nathan. The name she'd said once, years ago, with a little laugh, like it belonged to someone else's life. Ancient history, she'd called him. Nothing there. There was something there. She leaned in, kissed him. Not quick, not the kind of kiss you give someone by accident. I wish I could tell you the world went loud, that I heard myself gasp or drop the bag. It didn't. Everything went quiet instead. The food court noise, the music, all of it just fell away, like someone had muted my whole life. I walked up, said her name, just that, Elena. Watched her face do that thing where shock and guilt try to share the same expression and fail. "It's not what you think," she said. "Then tell me what it looks like," I said back, flat, almost calm, which scared me more than yelling would have. Nathan opened his mouth, started a sentence. "Wait, she told you we—" and stopped himself cold, like he'd just stepped on something breaking under his foot. I didn't know it yet, but that half sentence was the first crack in a much bigger lie. The drive home was the longest 15 minutes of my life. Neither of us said a word. I kept my eyes on the road, hands tight on the wheel, and Elena sat there with her arms crossed, staring out the window like the parking lots passing by were more interesting than me. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud in a way screaming never could have been. My mind kept rewinding, looking for the moments I'd missed. 3 months ago, she changed the passcode on her phone, said it was just a habit, and I believed her, because why wouldn't I? 2 weeks ago, a Saturday morning, coffee with a coworker, except she wore heels for coffee. I noticed all of it. I just chose not to look too closely. Some part of me, I think, didn't want to know. We got home and the house felt different already. Same furniture, same smell of the candle by the door, but it didn't feel like ours anymore. I set the gift bag on the counter without thinking. Couldn't bring myself to put it away. Couldn't bring myself to look at it either. I finally asked the only question that mattered. How long, Elena? She didn't answer right away. Just stood there, staring at that wrapped necklace like it belonged to someone else's marriage now. It's not what you think, she finally said. It's been building for a long time, not just with him. I felt something shift in my chest, not anger exactly, more like the floor tilting under a house I thought was built on solid ground. Wait, what does that mean? Not just with him? She didn't answer. And that silence, that was the loudest thing she'd said all night. Elena went quiet after that. The kind of quiet that tells you someone's deciding how much truth you can handle. And I don't know what made me do it, but her phone was sitting right there on the counter, still unlocked from earlier. Before I could stop myself, I picked it up. I wasn't looking for messages from Nathan. Honestly, some part of me was scared to find those. What I found instead was colder. An email. A lease confirmation. Signed 3 weeks ago. Move-in date? The week after our anniversary. I just stared at it, read it twice like the second time might say something different. This wasn't a slip. This wasn't 1 weak moment in a mall. She'd already planned to leave. The "I can't wait for tonight" text she sent me that morning, the smile over coffee, the dress she picked out, all of it happened after she'd already signed paperwork to walk out of our life. You were going to let me plan all this, I said, my voice not even sounding like mine. Dinner, the toast I rehearsed in the car, and then just disappear after. She didn't deny it, didn't even try. I didn't know how to say it without breaking everything at once, she said, like that was supposed to soften it. Funny thing about karma, it doesn't wait for you to be ready. It just hands you the truth exactly when you're holding a wrapped gift and a rehearsed toast and lets you feel every bit of the irony. I asked her one more thing, quieter this time. Does Nathan know I exist? Does he know you're still married? She didn't answer, and for the second time that night, her silence said more than her words ever could. I couldn't sit in that house another minute. I grabbed my keys and drove. No plan, no idea what I'd even say. Just an address I remembered Elena mentioning once, years ago in passing. A long shot. But I needed to look at his face when I said her name. Nathan opened the door, and the second he saw me, something in his expression shifted. Not guilt, exactly. Confusion. That threw me off more than anger would have. I know about you and Elena, I said. I just want to know how long. He went pale, actually pale. Wait, he started, then stopped, like the floor had just dropped out from under him, too. She told me you two were basically already separated, living like roommates, just waiting on paperwork. I felt my chest go tight. We had dinner together 4 nights ago, I said. We talked about repainting the guest room. Nathan didn't say anything for a second, just stood there in his doorway, looking like a man realizing he'd been used as a stepping stone in someone else's exit plan. Same as me, just from the other direction. He wasn't the villain I'd built up in my head on the drive over. He was just another person she'd lied to. Karma has a strange way of spreading the damage evenly, doesn't it? Nobody walks away from a lie like that untouched, not even the person she ran to. Before I left, he said one more thing, quiet, almost like he didn't want to say it out loud. She told me this same story before, about someone else, before me. I stood there in his doorway, feeling the ground shift again. Wait, what do you mean, before you? I drove home with Nathan's words sitting in my chest like a stone. Before you. I didn't even know what that meant yet, but I knew I wasn't leaving that house tonight without the whole truth, not pieces of it. Elena was still in the kitchen when I walked in, like she hadn't moved the entire time I was gone. I told her what Nathan said, watched her face crumble in a way I hadn't seen that night. Not caught this time, just tired of carrying it alone. She finally told me when it really started, 2 years ago. Not as romance, she said, as comfort, the year my father died, when I went quiet for months and didn't know how to let anyone in, not even her. She just listened, she said. You weren't there to, not really. I wanted to argue. Some part of me wanted to defend that year, say grief isn't an excuse for what she did, and it isn't. But standing there, I couldn't pretend I'd been blameless either. So I told her something I'd never said out loud. That same year, there was a coworker, Priya. Nothing physical ever happened, but some nights I looked forward to those conversations more than I looked forward to walking through my own front door. Neither confession excused anything. We both knew that. But karma has this quiet way of making sure nobody gets to stand on a pedestal for long. It humbles everyone eventually. Evens the score in ways you don't expect. Elena finally asked, barely above a whisper, "So what now?" I looked at the necklace still sitting wrapped on the counter where I'd left it hours ago, and for the first time all night, I didn't have an answer. There was no shouting after that, no slammed doors, no dramatic ultimatum, just two tired people standing in a kitchen, finally telling each other the truth a little too late for it to fix anything. I told Elena I needed to leave, not forever maybe, but for now. I couldn't unknow what I knew, couldn't sit across from her at dinner and pretend the last few hours hadn't happened. She didn't fight me on it, didn't beg, didn't argue. Maybe that was its own kind of answer, the absence of a fight saying more than 1,000 apologies could have. I packed a bag that night with hands that didn't feel like mine. Left the necklace exactly where it was, still wrapped, sitting on the counter like a small monument to a version of that evening that never got to happen. I couldn't take it with me, couldn't throw it away either. Weeks passed. We're separated now. Lawyers, quiet phone calls, the strange civility of two people untangling 13 years without the war I'd braced myself for. No villains left standing by the end, just two people who let silence do more damage than either of us meant for it to. Funny how fate works. I walked into that mall believing I was about to give her the best gift of her life. Instead, I walked out finally seeing the truth I'd been avoiding for years. Sometimes karma doesn't punish you loudly. It just shows you, quietly, exactly where you stopped paying attention. I used to think betrayal was the moment you see the kiss. Now I know better. It's every small silence before it, the years you stop asking real questions. Elena lied to me, but I'd stopped showing up long before she did. We were both guilty of disappearing quietly.
If you made it this far, I think you already know there's no clean villain in a story like this. Just two people who let something quiet turn into something they could not undo. If this hit close to home, subscribe. There's another story like this waiting for your next. And hey, if it's not too late for you yet, go say the thing you have been holding back. Talk soon.